I used to think that making the difficult choice was the hard part of change. Turns out I was dead wrong. It's actually just the beginning. So here's the thing, right? When you actually start telling yourself that you'll start putting in 100% effort and full focus on the task that you're currently doing, you trick yourself into thinking that that's all you need to tap into your entire potential at the moment. But that's not the case. If that sounds like you right now, let me explain to you why that's wrong. So your highest potential as you currently are is not necessarily your highest potential overall. It's just the point where you start encountering resistance. It's just your current ceiling. Which is why just merely making the decision to go all in on something is not enough and won't start producing the results that you want to see. Because when you start putting in your all, you hit that level where you encounter the friction, the resistance, and you believe that that's your entire potential when that's not the case. So instead of beating yourself up over it again and again, just know that change is not instantaneous. I know that sounds obvious, but we tend to forget that a lot of the time. When we want to change, we want it to happen immediately. Because without external results, the only thing you have is just your own self-drive, your own self-belief, right? That's why we want change to happen quickly, because once we get those external results, that validates our vision. That tells us externally that there's something that we can visibly see that says we're on the right path. You can't just look at what's already emerged for people who are already successful. You got to look at the process and how they got there. And not replicate it exactly, but replicate it in terms of doing your own version of it. Make it your own. Walk your own journey. And it may seem very difficult at first because there is going to be a lot of resistance. And this is exactly why having the right vision is important. The right vision that's true to you. This is why falling in love with the process is important. Because you're going to reach a point where you don't feel like doing it anymore. You're going to reach a point where you burn out. You don't want to keep going. But at the end of the day, it's not your motivation that keeps you going. And don't worry about the people who are just sitting on the sidelines telling you, "Oh, I told you so," when you swing and miss. Because it's always easy to be right in hindsight, where your default is just not doing anything, not taking that chance, not taking that swing. So you never miss. And it's true, you do never miss. But what also doesn't happen is you don't grow. People just want the emotional relief of transformation without actually going through the process of transforming themselves. When you're transforming, it's actually barely noticeable at first. It's not going to be that perfect snapshot of before and after you wake up on day one. Because motivation is fleeting. And honestly, I wouldn't even say it's just strict, hard discipline either. Because most people, let's be real here, most people won't be able to stick with that for long, extended periods of time. I would say that what actually keeps you going is true alignment to your goal, to your vision, to what your inner true self is, what you want to express to the world, what you want to bring to the world in terms of value, what you want to contribute. And so once you have that, you just incrementally level up one at a time, one level, one step at a time. And eventually, all those will conglomerate together. Those will add up over your journey. And personally, I'm not very big on strict routines or schedules, which is why I rely more on rhythm instead. Those two sound pretty similar. I know, like rhythm, routine, two sides of the same coin, right? Everyone works differently, right? Some people, they thrive on repetitive daily routines. And if that's you, then that's great. But personally, I would say I work best when it comes to long, uninterrupted periods of workflow. And if that sounds like you, I'll give you a little tip on how to optimize that to have maximum productivity. Basically, when you first start out doing something new and that you actually like, whether it be just a side hobby or for work, it's easy to fall into the habit of making that your life instead of just your work. You gotta figure out where to separate that line of work mode and rest mode. Because we're so programmed to think of work equals not fun, right? When you're working a job that you don't like, your brain automatically separates that into work mode and not rest mode. There's a clear difference between the two. But when you're actually doing something for work that you do like, that doesn't automatically happen anymore. You gotta manually be conscious of it and then make that split yourself. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that that is just your life now, and that when you're resting or when you're working, the lines are blurred. And if you're not sure whether to drop something or continue with the current trajectory you're going, ask yourself this, do this thought experiment. I'll use myself as a personal example. My previous master's degree that I was doing in environmental science, every single time I finished a class, I did not feel better about it. I felt worse. And here's the thing, when it comes to laziness or misalignment, this is how you distinguish. With laziness, it only feels bad beforehand. And if you don't do it, you feel guilty for not doing it. But when you do it, for example, you don't want to go to the gym for a workout, you go work out anyway, you typically feel better about it afterwards because you did something you were supposed to do. You were committed to it. But with environmental science, every single time I finished a class or an assignment, I felt genuinely worse about myself afterwards. That's how I knew that it was time to pivot into something else. Start a new path. Start a new trajectory. So if it's genuinely leaving you drained afterwards instead of more content, then that might be a sign that it's time to pivot into something else. Protect your energy. Your energy is one of your most useful resources and most valuable resources, along with your time. I know a lot of people disregard energy, thinking that it's not important and that you just have an infinite well of energy whenever you get motivated. But energy is more limited than you might think. Protect it and curate an ecosystem, an online ecosystem and in real life circle that fosters your energy instead of depleting it. That means cutting out all the fake people. That means cutting out everything that's not serving your trajectory at the moment. It doesn't mean be a jerk or an asshole. It just means that you're prioritizing yourself and your energy and your trajectory over bullcrap that other people might be serving up. If you liked what you heard, be sure to leave a comment below and consider subscribing for more content that will come in the future. I will see you guys in the next video. You take care. Bye for now.